Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do our 2025 update to the best stable neutral super racing shoes. So these are the three primary options for those of us that have stability needs if you're looking for a super racing shoe. There are no true stability super racing shoes, and in fact there's no more true stability racing shoes at all, as the Brooks Hyperion GTS series has now been officially discontinued, and I'm sorry if that's how you're going to find this out. So if you like that series, it's not super, it's not plated, it doesn't have a super foam, but it was the lightest stability shoe out there. If you like it, hopefully you'll be able to get it on sale, but we are now seeing the light stability shoes dry up. The A6 GT 2014 is a lot heavier than it was previously, and it's not as nimble, so that's out. Really, the only true stability options that we have left that are lightweight is going to be the Saucony Tempest 2 and the Adidas Supernova Solution 2. Both those are true stability shoes. They do have super foams in them. They do not have plates, and they're not the lightest things in the planet. I don't really like the Saucony Tempest 2, to be honest, because it's way too narrow and it's not as responsive as I would like and a little firmer. The Solution 2 has been a really fun shoe. It's just not as light as a lot of the super racing shoes are, but if you need some stability, true stability, those are kind of your lightest option. Now, that said, those of us that have been doing this for a while that have stability needs have found, hey, there's these things called stable neutral shoes, which isn't the technical name that they're given, but they have characteristics that make them more stable, that those of us with stability needs are able to take them for faster races and longer distances and actually do okay in them. And so what we're going to do is talk about these top three, and you notice last year, 2024, there were 5. Now there's 3 because we lost 2 and gained 1. But the Saucony Endorphin Elite 1 version 2 is the exact opposite of stable neutral, and the Hoka X1 version 2 is now also in that category of no longer being a stable neutral shoe. But we still have 3 solid options we're going to talk about, and we're going to compare them. We'll talk about specs first, as we always do, and what we're going to really prioritize going, what mechanisms in these shoes make them stable, and how, if you are even interested in this category, how can you decide which one may work better for you? We have reviews of all this stuff, but I'm going to talk about specifically things that make them super racing and make them stable, and hopefully help you make a decision about which one might work better for you, again, if you're interested in this stuff. So, as always, starting with specs, in my men's size 10, the Hoka Rocket X3, which is new, is the lightest of these, but not by much. My men's size 10 is coming in at 7.7 ounces, or about 218 grams. The Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 is coming in at 8 ounces, or about 228 grams, so actually the heaviest, but not by much, of the group of these. And the final one, the 361 Flame 4, is coming in at about 7.8, 7.9 ounces, or about 224 grams. Now, stack height-wise, very similar. The Rocket X3 is coming in at 40 millimeters in the heel, 33 in the forefoot for a 7 millimeter drop, although it does not feel like that. It feels a lot lower. The Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 is coming in at 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop, and that does feel like that. And the 361 Flame 4 is coming in at 36 millimeters in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for a 6 millimeter drop, and that's about where it fits. So all these are very similar in their stack heights, they're very similar in their drops, they're very similar in their weights. So there's some other things you need to think about, though, if you're trying to make a decision between which one might work better for you. Of the 3 of these, one of the more aggressive shoes is going to be the Hoka Rocket X3. Now, it is also the more aggressive stability or stable neutral of this series, and I'm going to explain why. So there's a couple things that you need to look for, and we've talked about stable neutral before, but I want to explain what that means. It means that this isn't a true stability shoe. There's no medial post, there's no internal geometry that's really meant to get your foot in one way. There's some things that are just added here that just make it stable. One of the big things that we usually talk about are sidewalls, or those some of my friends at Brooks might call those a top line. The sidewalls kind of act like guide rails, or like if you go at a bowling alley and if you're like me and you have terrible motor control and you suck at all sports, then if you want to bowl, you have the guide rails on the side to kind of keep you in the middle so your ball doesn't go in the gutter every single time and you don't come back because you're not having any fun. This is not that much different where these things come up. This is the midsole that comes up around the side of your foot, so if you roll to one side, it provides some resistance and tries to keep you a little bit more in the center. The Hoka Rocket X3 has these fairly prominent in both the medial side and the lateral side, as do many of these, although this one tends to have the longest one. The other things that makes this thing more stable neutral is going to be things that keep you a little bit more. For example, with this shoe, this is a really medially stable shoe. There's the midfoot's much wider, which is another really good factor that makes this stable. There's this thing, we have coined a guidance line throughout the center of the shoe. That's not the real term for this, but when you have something like this, your body is going to go through the paths of least resistance. Material, more resistance. No material, less resistance. So you're more likely to stay in the center, and if you have a midfoot filled in, if you fall into that, there's more material there for you to fall into, so it provides some resistance. Now, final thing you're going to see is if you see the shoe is going to be beveled in different directions. The heel is beveled very laterally, so when you land, it's going to keep you a little bit more lateral here. So if you have lateral instabilities, by the way, this shoe is absolutely not for you. I'm just going to dive into this right away. The plate, by the way, can also provide some resistance, but the one that is most immediately stable of all three of these is going to be the Hoka Rocket X3. It's got really prominent medial sidewalls here. The midfoot is filled in, and it's filled in enough that actually, like, it feels when you land like, oh, there's some resistance. Like, it's almost tries to go, is there a mild post in the shoe? There's not. But if you have lateral stability needs, this is not a shoe for you. And this, Andrea also reviewed this with me on our website, and she found she couldn't actually run in the shoe that much because it was bothering her ankle because it pushed her so lateral. That's the lateral heel bevel, the filled-in midfoot, the sidewalls, and the final piece is if you see this outsole material, you can create guidance through more outsole or midsole on one side. So there's more outsole material which firms things up, and there's less outsole and a more cutout here, so when you toe off, you actually end up angling a little bit lateral. So somebody like me that needs medial stability on the inner side of their foot, on the forefoot, this shoe works really well. So if you have medial stability needs throughout the length of the shoe, this is going to be the best option for you. It is, like I said, the lightest. I will say it is not, I ran a 5K this morning in this. It is a good shoe. It's probably one of the snappier of these ones. It does tend to work a little bit better for longer distances because, especially for when you're doing longer distances, if you end up on your heel, this is the best place to land. The heel is the most responsive. It bounces you forward really nicely. Forefoot isn't as responsive. I can really feel the plate, which really curves up, which is really aggressive. I don't do so well with that. I do a little better with the plate not being as upwardly curved because I can actually feel underneath my feet. So if I'm trying to get up on my forefoot to run fast, doesn't really feel as good. This is more of a longer distance shoe that has some versatility into short distance because it is so snappy. Forefoot's just a little bit firmer. So heel strikers are probably going to do better than the shoe and allowing them to roll forward. People that want to get up in your forefoot may not be the best option. Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 may be a better option, but most medially stable throughout the length of the shoe. So if that's something you need, this is going to be a really good option, especially if you need something more prominent. Just make sure your foot's a little bit more narrow to normal. If you have a wide foot, this is not going to work. If you have more normal narrow feet, it's going to be better because it does fit a little bit more stuck. So on to the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. If you want a more cushioned shoe that's going to do really, really well into long distances, but be stiff enough that it can actually handle a 5K, this is going to be your shoe. And the other thing that I forgot to mention about the Hoka Rocket X4, the outsole durability, or sorry, Rocket X3, the outsole durability is terrible. I have a little less than 30, no, I have 30 miles on this shoe as of today. And the outsole, this piece is already coming off here, as you can see. This is my left shoe, and I'm already ripping through the outsole. The midsole is fine, but if you're hard on outsoles, this shoe is not for you. I'm probably not gonna get that many miles out of it. I'm gonna try, but I'm not gonna get 100 miles out of this. The Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 is gonna be one of the more durable options beside the 361 Flame. This shoe I have 150 miles on, and you can see outsole is doing phenomenal. Midsole has firmed up a little bit, but it was already a teeny bit on the firmer end anyway and is loosened up. The biggest thing about this is it's really stiff. If you like a very stiff forefoot, this shoe is gonna do very well for you. The other thing it does really well is if you want a filled-in midfoot and you want really significant sidewalls that actually run the entire length of the shoe, even into the forefoot, that's gonna work well. I will say this is a much more centered shoe than the Hoka Rocket X3, which the Rocket X is really gonna push you lateral. The Endorphin Pro keeps you much more centered. Heel is really, really well cushioned. There's not a posterior lateral bevel, so this shoe takes some time to break in. When it does, it's got a smooth heel, but this one's gonna keep you in the middle more. If you have a little bit of lateral instability, this one's gonna be good. If you have a little bit medial stability issues, this is gonna be good. It'll keep you nice and centered. What's really different about this shoe is, like I said, snappy forefoot, really stiff forefoot that took a while to break in, and actually enjoyed it for faster miles, and then as it broke in, more longer distance stuff. But it feels much more cushioned. The cushion is more balanced than the Hoka Rocket X3. So more versatility in my opinion. And what also sets it apart is where the Rocket X3 has a very narrow upper. This one has a very high volume upper. So if you have a wider foot or you want a little more room, you can see how much I had to tie the laces down. And I don't have a narrow foot, but I had to really tie the laces down to get a secure fit because it's just got more room. So more centered ride, really nice wide shape, midfoot is filled in, central groove here, really, really nice plate that's really stiff, and really nice sidewalls if you like that. So kind of the more best balance of all three of these if you need just general central stability rather than being pushed in one direction. And the final surprise one for me was the 361 Flame. Now this I wasn't expecting. I remember trying the original version, have not tried it since then. It honestly sucked. It was stable because it was so stiff, but it was so firm, it was not comfortable. I'm very impressed with what 361 has done. And this is their like entry-level racing shoe. Like it's their like lightweight trainer, versatile shoe. And I will say the other two are really meant for running fast. This one you can get away with daily training in, you can do long runs, you can race in. It does a lot of things really well. It doesn't have the softest midsole. It's probably the firmest midsole of the three of these. It's called, CQT Flame, some name that I always forget, but it is definitely a super foam. It's just on the firmer end of this. It's got a full leg plate. What this shoe does really, really well is durability is insane. I have 50 miles in this shoe and cannot really dent this at all. So if you want, and it's the cheapest by far. It's like you can find this for like 160 bucks on sale. The other two are still in like 225, 250 range. This one, much better deal in terms of best durability and cheapest of all of them, while still being a similar weight. The other thing this shoe does really, really well is it has a very centered ride. There's a really nice posterolateral heel bevel, so it'll keep you a little bit lateral here. The midfoot isn't as wide as the other ones. It does taper, but you can see this groove really will keep you lateral here. And I actually didn't have any midfoot issues. If you are really sensitive to a narrow midfoot, this may not fully work for you, but once you get going, this is absolutely fine. What this shoe does the best of all three is it has the best forefoot stability. You can see there's this central cutout here. It is really, really stiff. And the plate actually comes up around. Yes, the Rocket X3 does have some gentle winglets, which from my understanding is actually only on the lateral side. The forefoot here really scoops around you, and it's really, really wide. You can see the sole flare extends out really far in the forefoot. So if you need a stable forefoot, this is gonna be the best option for you. Upper, it needs a little bit of work. It's a little bit stiff, but it is still fairly breathable, and there's not a really stiff heel counter here, so you should be fine if you need something like that. But best forefoot stability of all these, while still being fairly centered, some mild sidewalls, but the plate really does the plate and the forefoot width does the magic here because plate scoops up around you and it's the widest forefoot. And again, the most versatile ride of all three of these. I typically don't suggest people do easy runs in super shoes, but this one actually has done well for that. So if you want what's kind of more of a lightweight trainer racer, this is gonna be the best option. So all these are really good shoes. I'm very impressed with what they're doing. I do wish the Rocket X3's durability was a little bit better, but you know, can't always be picky about 1,000 things. But if you need a stable super racing shoe, these are going to do it. They are not going to be full-on stability shoes, but there are mechanisms there that if you work on your strength, you should be able to handle these from 5K all the way up to a marathon for a lot of people. I know I have done long runs in all these shoes, and I have done absolutely fine, which is one of the biggest telltale signs that they are stable neutral. And I have raced in the Rocket X3, although not the other two, but I've taken through tons of workouts. They can run fast, they do really well, they're snappy, they're just really good at different things. 361 Flame is going to be the most versatile, be able to handle training and racing for a variety of distances. The Endorphin Pro 4 is going to be the most centered of all of them, where instead of pushing in one direction, it's going to provide a little more cushioning, a little bit more rockered and kind of balanced ride, and it's keep things really nicely middle throughout the length of the shoe. And the Rocket X3 is going to be the lightest, snappiest, and the most biased of all of them. If you need medial stability, that's really where the Rocket X3 is going to go through. Just make sure you're light in your feet. As always, hope this helps. Please let me know in the comments below, are there any other shoes that you think should be added to the list? I honestly don't at this point. I know some people might mention the Salomon, I can't remember the name of it, but please, if you're gonna bring that shoe up, know it's got the most narrow midfoot of any shoe that I've ever tried. And when I tried it, it definitely was not stable neutral, and I didn't even review it because I couldn't handle it. I also know there's the Asics S4 Plus Yaguri, which isn't a full super racing shoe, and I have not bought a pair because it doesn't have a full, stack of super foam. I'm hoping that shoe evolves. Haven't gotten it yet because I keep missing out on getting it. But in my mind, it's not a full super racing shoe. It's kind of more in that lightweight trainer, kind of better for a little bit, maybe a slower runner kind of stuff, but I haven't tried it, so I will have to consider that. So these are the three. Please let me know if there's any others that you should consider. Also, let me know, have you run in any of these three? Do you agree or disagree? Is there things that you really like about some of them, things that you really don't? For those of us that actually need stability, the whole point I want you to add to this is, yes, I'm one person, I run a ton. I think my combined miles in these is like well over 200 miles in all these shoes. But I'm not the only person. I'm not the only person that has feet out there. So if you have similar experiences or different experiences, share, because the whole point of this is to not sell you shoes, but to help educate you on shoes that might work better for you, because I'm a physical therapist, a researcher, and a professor. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to have to see me, although if you want to see me, you can definitely reach out, but I want you to stay healthy so you can enjoy your run, focus on consistency, and enjoy the simplicity of the sport and not make it too complicated.